The ship moved through the darkness of space like a ghost. It was called the Celestine, and from the outside, it looked like nothing special. Just an old cargo vessel, carrying goods from one star system to another. But inside, hidden behind thick walls and heavy doors, traveled the most important person in the Velen Empire. Queen Nira sat alone in her private chamber. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes glowed like soft silver moons. She was beautiful in a way that humans could never be. Her people lived for thousands of years. They had built empires when humans were still living in caves. And now she was running. The peace summit had failed. The Keth, those horrible insect creatures, had rejected every offer. War was coming, and someone wanted her dead before she could prepare her people. So she traveled in secret, pretending to be cargo, hoping to reach home alive in the lower decks of the ship. Far from the queen's luxury, a human man sat on a metal floor. His name was Tay. He was 32 years old, which meant nothing to the aliens around him. To them, he was already middle-aged, already dying. Humans lived such short lives that most aliens considered them barely worth noticing. Tay had been a soldier once. Special forces. The best of the best on Earth. But that was before. Before the aliens came. Before his brother died. Now, he was just a mercenary, taking whatever jobs he could find. This job was simple. Load cargo. Unload cargo. Stay quiet. Stay invisible. The Velen crew members walked past him like he was furniture. Sometimes they would look at him with disgust. Sometimes with pity. Mostly, they did not look at him at all. "Human," one of them said, kicking his foot. "Move. You are in the way." Tay stood up without a word. He had learned not to fight back. Not because he was afraid, but because it did not matter. These aliens would live for centuries. He would be dust in 50 years. Why waste energy on their small cruelties? He walked through the narrow corridors of the ship, carrying a heavy box on his shoulder. The work was hard, but he did not mind. Hard work kept his mind busy. It kept him from thinking about Day, his younger brother, the one who always smiled, the one who believed humans could be heroes. Day had died 2 years ago during an alien raid on Earth. He had run into a burning building to save people. He did not even know. Strangers, children. He got them all out, and then the building fell. Tay still carried his brother's dog tags around his neck. 2 small pieces of metal with a name on them. That was all that remained of the best person Tay had ever known. He turned a corner and stopped. There in front of him stood Queen Nira herself. She was tall, much taller than him. Her robes were simple, meant to hide her identity, but nothing could hide what she was. She carried herself like someone who had ruled worlds. Her silver eyes looked down at Tay with cold curiosity. Commander Roka stood beside her. He was her personal guard, a massive Velen warrior with scars across his face. His hand moved to his weapon when he saw Tay. "It is just the human," Roka said with disgust. "The cargo worker." Queen Nira did not move. She studied Tay like a scientist studying an insect. "Strange creatures," she said softly. "They burn so briefly, yet fight as if they have something to prove." Tay said nothing. He kept his eyes down, waiting for them to pass. "Do you understand me, human?" Queen Nira asked. "Yes," Tay said. "Then answer me this. Your kind lives for what? 70 years? 80, if you are lucky? Why do you bother? Why do you struggle so hard for such a small existence?" Tay looked up. For a moment, his eyes met hers. "Because it is ours," he said simply. "Every moment of it." Queen Nira blinked. Something flickered across her face. Surprise, perhaps, or confusion. She was not used to humans speaking back. Roka stepped forward. "Watch your tone, creature. Let him go," Queen Nira said. She was still looking at Tay. "He has work to do." Tay nodded and walked away. He could feel their eyes on his back. He did not care. He had spoken the truth. That was all ours past. Tay finished his work and found a quiet corner to rest. He closed his eyes, but sleep did not come. It never came easily anymore. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Day, smiling, running toward danger. Disappearing into fire, someone had to stand, Day used to say. Might as well be us. Tay touched the dog tags under his shirt. I am trying, brother, he whispered. I am still trying, the ship shook. Tay opened his eyes. Red lights began flashing. Alarms screamed through the corridors. The ship shook again, harder this time. He jumped to his feet and ran to the nearest window. Outside in the black ocean of space, he saw them. 3 ships, dark and ugly, shaped like giant insects. Keth warships. They had found the Queen. The Celestine tried to run, but it was too slow. The Keth ships moved closer. Tay watched as small pods launched from them. Boarding pods. They were going to board the ship around him. The Velen crew was panicking. They were merchants and workers, not soldiers. They did not know how to fight. They ran in every direction, screaming, looking for somewhere to hide. Tay stood still. His heart was beating fast, but his mind was calm. This was familiar. This was war. He had a choice. The cargo bay was close. He could reach it, find an escape pod, and leave. No one would blame him. He was just a hired hand. Just a human. What could he do against the Keth? Then he heard the first screams. Not screams of fear. Screams of death. The Keth had boarded. They were killing everyone they found. Tay could hear weapons firing, bodies falling, the sounds of slaughter. He closed his eyes. He saw Day again, running toward fire. Someone has to stand. Tay opened his eyes. He did not run toward the cargo bay. He ran toward the screams. He did not know why. He owed these aliens nothing. They had treated him like dirt. But somewhere on this ship, people were dying. And somewhere on this ship, there was a queen who asked why humans bothered to live. Maybe he would show her. Maybe that was reason enough. He ran through the corridors as the ship burned around him. Red lights, smoke, bodies. The Keth were fast, but Tay was faster. He had trained for this. He had lived for this. He did not have a weapon. He did not have armor. He had nothing but his hands and his heart and his brother's dog tags around his neck. It would have to be enough. The Keth moved through the ship like shadows made of blades. They were tall creatures, covered in black armor that looked like the shell of an insect. Their eyes were red, burning with hunger. They did not speak. They only killed. Tay pressed himself against a wall as 3 of them passed. They moved fast, their legs clicking against the metal floor. He held his breath until they were gone. Then he started moving again. He had no plan. He had no idea what he was doing. All he knew was that he needed to keep going forward, toward the screams, toward the dying. The corridor was filled with smoke. Tay could barely see. He stepped over a body, then another. Velen, crew members, workers, people who had never held a weapon in their long lives. They had been cut down like grass. Tay felt anger rise in his chest. These aliens had looked down on him. They had called him primitive, weak, short-lived. But when death came, they had fallen just as easily as anyone else. Their long lives meant nothing against Keth blades. He kept moving. Somewhere ahead, he could hear fighting, real fighting. Someone was still alive. Someone was still resisting. He found them in a wide hallway near the upper decks. Commander Roka and 6 royal guards standing in a circle around a sealed door. Behind that door, Tay knew, was Queen Nira. Roka was wounded. Green blood ran down his arm. But he was still fighting. His weapon fired again and again. Cutting down Keth after Keth, his guards fell beside him, one by one. But he did not stop. There were too many Keth. They came from every direction, climbing walls, dropping from ceilings. For everyone that died, 2 more appeared. Tay watched from the shadows. He should help. He wanted to help. But what could he do? He had no weapon, no armor. He was just a human. Then he saw it. A fallen guard, lying in a pool of green blood. In his hand was a plasma blade, still glowing. Still ready, Tay moved without thinking. He ran across the open space, sliding under a Keth blade that would have cut him in half. He grabbed the weapon and rolled behind a pillar. The plasma blade felt strange in his hands. It was not designed for humans. It was too heavy, too long. But it was a weapon, and Tay knew how to use weapons. He looked at Roka. The commander was on his knees now. His last guard had fallen. He was alone, bleeding, facing a dozen Keth. "Protect the queen," Roka said to no one. Perhaps he was talking to himself. Perhaps he was praying. She must survive. He raised his weapon for one final shot. The Keth closed in. Tay burst from his hiding place. He was not a trained Velen warrior. He did not know their fighting styles, but he knew how to kill. He had learned it on Earth, in the mud and blood of human wars. He had learned it in the dark places where men become monsters. The first Keth never saw him coming. Tay drove the plasma blade through its back. The creature screamed and fell. The others turned, confused. What was this small creature? Where had it come from? Tay did not give them time to think. He moved like water, flowing from one target to the next. He was faster than they expected, smaller, harder to hit. He ducked under their swings and struck at their legs, their arms, their throats. He was not stronger than them. He was not better, but he was unpredictable. And in battle, sometimes that was enough. 3 more Keth fell before they adjusted. Then they surrounded him. Tay stood in the center of the circle, breathing hard. His arms were tired. The plasma blade was too heavy, human, one of the Keth said. Its voice was like rocks grinding together. You fight well, but you will die. Everyone dies, Tay said. Today is not my day. He attacked. It was not a smart thing to do. It was not a tactical decision. It was simply what Day would have done. Charge forward. Never back down. Make them afraid, even if they killed you. The Keth were not ready for it. They expected him to defend, to wait, to be careful. But Tay had never been careful. He had only pretended to be, because there was nothing worth dying for. Now there was. He cut down 2 more before a blade caught his leg. He fell to one knee, but kept swinging. Another Keth fell. Then another. Blood covered his face. He could not tell if it was his or theirs. Roka watched from the ground, unable to believe what he was seeing. This human, this primitive, short-lived creature, he was fighting like a demon. Get up, Tay shouted at him. Get up and seal the door. Roka tried to stand. His legs would not hold him. He crawled toward the control panel, leaving a trail of green blood behind him. The last 5 Keth rushed Tay together. He blocked the first blade, dodged the second. The third cut across his shoulder. The fourth missed by inches. The fifth would have killed him, but he threw himself backward and let it pass over his head. He hit the ground hard. The plasma blade flew from his hands. He was unarmed, wounded, surrounded. The Keth raised their blades for the final strike. Then the door behind them opened. Queen Nira stood there, holding a weapon. Her silver eyes were filled with cold fury. She fired once, twice, 3 times. Each shot was perfect. Each shot killed. The last 2 Keth turned to face her. Tay grabbed the plasma blade and drove it through one of them from behind. Queen Nira shot the other. Silenced, Tay lay on the ground, gasping for breath. Every part of his body hurt. He was bleeding from a dozen wounds. But he was alive. Queen Nira looked down at him. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands were shaking. You saved me, she said quietly. Not yet, Tay said. He forced himself to stand. More will come. Where is the throne chamber? Through here, then we need to move, now. He stumbled forward, using the wall for support. Behind him, Queen Nira helped Roka to his feet. The commander looked at Tay with new eyes. Eyes that held something that had not been there before. Respect. They moved through the ship together. More Keth came, but fewer now. Tay and Queen Nira fought side by side. She was surprised to find that he kept pace with her. This This creature, who should have been dead 10 times over, they reached the throne chamber and sealed the door. Inside, it was quiet. Safe, for the moment. Tay collapsed against a wall. His vision was blurring. He had lost too much blood, as Queen Nira said. "We are safe here," Tay said. "They will come. Their leader will come. Then we will fight. We will fight. I am done." Queen Nira knelt beside him. For the first time, she looked at him not as a human, but as a person. "You could have run," she said. "Why did you stay?" Tay touched the dog tags around his neck. "Someone has to stand," he whispered. "Might as well be me." Queen Nira did not understand. But she wanted to. Outside, heavy footsteps approached. The door shook. Something massive was trying to get in. Tay closed his eyes. He thought of day. He thought of home. He thought of all the short, beautiful years he had been given. Not enough, he thought. Never enough. But maybe enough to make a difference. The door exploded inward. And the real monster stepped through. The creature that stepped through the broken door was unlike any Keth Tay had seen before. It stood nearly 3 meters tall. Its body was covered in thick black armor, and in its hand it carried a blade as long as a man. Red eyes burned with an ancient hunger. This was Voss, the leader of the Keth, the killer of worlds. Queen Nira raised her weapon. But Voss moved faster than sight. He struck the gun from her hand with casual ease. It flew across the room and shattered against the wall. "Queen Nira of the Velen Empire," Voss said. His voice was deep and terrible, like thunder from a dying sky. "I have traveled very far to find you. Your death will end this war before it begins." Queen Nira did not run. She did not beg. She stood tall, her silver eyes meeting his red ones without fear. "Kill me if you can," she said, "but my people will not surrender. They will fight until the last star burns out." Voss laughed. It was a horrible sound. "Your people are old and tired. They have forgotten how to fight. They have lived too long and grown too soft. You will fall just like all the others." He raised his blade. The metal glowed with dark energy. One strike, and it would all be over. The queen would die. The war would be lost. The Velen Empire would fall. Time seemed to slow. Tay watched from the floor. He could barely move. His body was broken. His blood was draining out. He was going to die here in this room on this alien ship. He was going to die and no one would remember him. But Queen Nira would die too. He thought of Day, running into fire, saving strangers, giving everything for people he did not know. Someone has to stand. Tay moved. He did not know where the strength came from. Maybe it came from somewhere deep inside. Maybe it came from Day, watching from whatever place brave souls go. Maybe it came from nowhere at all. It's just the final spark of a human life refusing to go quietly. He threw himself between Voss and the queen. The blade came down. It was meant for Queen Nira's heart. Instead, it went through Tay's shoulder. The pain was beyond anything he had ever felt. It burned like fire and ice together. He screamed, but he did not fall. Voss stared at him with something like confusion. What was this creature? Why had it jumped in front of a blade? Why was it still standing? Tay grabbed the blade with his bare hand. Blood poured between his fingers. The dark energy burned his skin. But he did not let go. "What are you doing?" Voss demanded. "You are already dead. Why do you fight?" Tay looked up at him. His vision was fading. Red at the edges. Growing darker, but he could still see. He could still move. He could still fight, because humans are stupid like that, he said. And he drove his plasma blade into Voss's throat. The Keth leader made no sound. He simply looked down at the blade sticking out of his neck. Then he looked at the human who had put it there. For just a moment, something like respect flickered in those red eyes. Then Voss fell. The crash shook the entire room. The great monster, the killer of worlds, lay dead on the throne room floor. Killed by a human who should have died hours ago. Tay collapsed beside him. Queen Nira stood frozen. She could not move. She could not speak. She could only stare at the scene before her. The monster. The man. The blood everywhere. Slowly, she knelt beside Tay. He was still breathing, but barely. His eyes were open, but they looked at nothing. His hand was still wrapped around his brother's dog tags. "Why?" she whispered. The word came out broken, confused. "Why did you do that? You could have lived. You could have run. Why did you save me?" Tay's lips moved. At first, no sound came out. Then, very softly, she heard him, because someone had to. Queen Nira felt something wet on her face. She touched her cheek and found tears. She had not cried in 500 years. She had thought she had forgotten how. "You are dying," she said. "I know. You saved my life. I know. I do not understand." Her voice was shaking now. "I do not understand how someone can do this. Throw away their life for a stranger. For someone who did not even treat you well? How can you do this?" Tay's eyes found hers. Even now, even dying, there was something bright in them. Something that refused to go out. "My brother asked me the same question once," he said. "Right before he ran into a burning building, I told him he was crazy. He said maybe, but someone had to stand. Someone had to be the one who did not run." He coughed. Blood came out, but he kept talking. "I was angry at him for dying. Angry at him for leaving me alone. I thought he was stupid. I thought he threw his life away for nothing." Tay's hand tightened around the dog tags. "But now I understand. He did not die for nothing. He died so that others could live. And now I know what that feels like." Queen Nira held his hand. It was cold. "Too cold. Do not die," she said. It was not a command. It was a plea. "Please, do not die." "Everyone dies," Tay said. "Humans just do it faster. But maybe that is okay. Maybe that is what makes us who we are. We know our time is short, so we do not waste it being afraid." Outside, the sounds of fighting had stopped. The Keth were retreating. With Voss dead, they had no reason to stay. Somewhere in the distance, new ships were arriving. Velen, reinforcements. Help was coming, but Tay did not hear any of it. His world was getting smaller, darker, quieter. "My brother's name was Day," he said. "He was better than me, braver, kinder. He always believed that humans could be heroes. Real heroes, not like in the stories. I never believed him," he smiled. It was a sad smile, but it was real. Guess he was right after all. His eyes closed. Queen Nira screamed for help. Medics burst into the room. They surrounded Tay, working frantically. Machines beeped. Lights flashed. People shouted orders. Queen Nira stood back and watched. Her hands were covered in human blood. Red, not green. Such a strange color. She looked at Voss's body. The monster that had killed thousands, destroyed worlds, ended entire civilizations, and he had been killed by a single human. A cargo worker. A nobody, no, she thought. Not a nobody. She did not know if Tay would live. She did not know if anything could save him now. But she knew one thing for certain. She would never look at humans the same way again. They burned so briefly, she had said. But now she understood what that really meant. They did not burn briefly because they were weak. They burned briefly because they gave everything. Every moment. Every breath. Every heartbeat. Humans did not have time to be afraid. So they simply chose not to be, and in 12 seconds. One human had changed the course of history. The medics lifted Tay onto a stretcher. He was still alive. Barely. His heart was still beating. Weak, but stubborn. Refusing to stop, Queen Nira followed them out of the throne room. She did not leave his side. She would not leave until she knew if he lived. She would not leave until she could thank him. She would not leave until she understood this strange, impossible, beautiful thing called humanity. 3 days passed before Tay opened his eyes. He woke slowly, rising from darkness like a man swimming up from deep water. At first, he did not know where he was. The ceiling was white. The air smelled clean, like medicine and machines. Soft light came from somewhere he could not see. He tried to move. Pain shot through his body. He groaned and fell back against the bed. "Do not try to move," a familiar voice. Soft but commanding. "You almost died. Your body needs time." Tay turned his head. Queen Nira sat beside his bed. She was no longer wearing her simple disguise. She was dressed in royal robes of deep blue and silver. A crown rested on her head. She looked like what she was, a queen, a ruler of worlds. But her eyes were tired, and her hands were wrapped around a small metal object. Day's dog tags. "You have been asleep for 3 days," Queen Nira said. "The doctor said you should be dead. Your wounds were too severe. You lost too much blood. No human should have survived." Tay said nothing. His throat was too dry to speak. Queen Nira stood and poured water into a small cup. She held it to his lips. He drank. The water was cool and sweet. "Thank you," he whispered. She sat back down. For a long moment, she just looked at him, studying him, trying to understand. "The Keth have retreated," she said finally. "Without Voss, they have no leader strong enough to hold them together. The war will still come, but not today. Perhaps not for many years. You have given us time," Good Tay said. His voice was rough, broken. "That is good. You saved my life. You saved mine too." "You shot those last Keth?" Queen Nira shook her head. "That was different. I was protecting myself. You threw yourself in front of a blade for me. You had nothing to gain. You had everything to lose." Tay closed his eyes. He was so tired. Every part of him hurt. "I have been sitting here for 3 days," Queen Nira continued, "watching you, thinking I have lived for over 2,000 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched stars die. And in all that time, I have never seen anyone do what you did." She held up the dog tags. "They caught the light, flashing silver. Looked at these while you slept. I found records. Your brother Day. He died saving strangers during an alien raid. He ran into a burning building. He got everyone out. And then he died." Tay's eyes opened. There were tears in them. "He was 28 years old," Queen Nira said. "By our standards, he was barely a child. He had seen nothing, done nothing, lived nothing. And yet he gave everything he had for people he did not know." She placed the dog tags gently in Tay's hand. "I asked you once why humans bother. Why you struggle so hard for such short lives. I thought I was being clever. I thought I understood something you did not. But I was wrong." She leaned forward. Her silver eyes met his. "Do not struggle despite your short lives. You struggle because of them. Every moment matters to you. Every choice has weight. Every second is precious because you have so few of them." Tay held the dog tags tight. He could feel Day's name pressed against his palm. "We measure worth in centuries," Queen Nira said. "We think that more time means more value. But time means nothing if you do not use it well. I have lived for 2,000 years, and what have I done? I have sat on thrones, given orders, watched others live and die, but I have never risked anything, never sacrificed anything, never truly lived." She took Tay's hand. Her skin was cool against his. "Your brother lived for 28 years, and he was a hero. You have lived for 32 years, and you have changed history. My people lived for thousands of years, and we have forgotten what it means to be brave." They looked at her. This queen, this ruler of an empire, she was so powerful, so ancient, and she was holding his hand like he was the most important person in the universe. "I am not a hero," he said. "I am just a man who is too stupid to run." Queen Nira smiled. It was a small smile, but it changed her whole face. Made her look younger, made her look alive. "Oh, that is exactly what a hero is," she said. "Someone too stupid to run." Despite everything, Tay laughed. It hurt. Everything hurt. But he laughed anyway. The door opened. Commander Roca entered. He was walking with the help of a cane, his wounds still healing. But he walked straight to Tay's bed and stood at attention. "Human," he said. His voice was gruff, but there was something different in it now. I owe you my life. I owe you my queen's life. I have treated you poorly. I called you primitive. Weak. I was wrong. He bowed his head. A Velen commander, bowing to a human cargo worker. I ask for your forgiveness, Roka said, and I offer you my respect. Tay did not know what to say. This was not something he had expected. He had expected nothing at all. There's nothing to forgive, he said finally. You were protecting your queen. That is what matters. Roka lifted his head. His eyes were wet. You are a warrior. A true warrior. If you ever need anything, you have only to ask. I will give it freely. He bowed again and left the room. Queen Nira watched him go. You have changed him, she said. You have changed all of us. I did not mean to change anyone. I just did what I had to do. That is what makes it matter. You did not think. You did not calculate. You simply acted. That is something my people have forgotten how to do. She stood and walked to the window. Outside, stars stretched across the darkness. Millions of them. Billions. Each one a sun. Each one with worlds spinning around it. I am going to address the Galactic Council soon, she said. I am going to tell them about you. About what you did. About what humans are. What are we? Tay asked. Queen Nira turned to look at him. The starlight made her skin glow like silver. You are fire, she said. Brief and bright and impossible to ignore. You burn for just a moment, but in that moment, you light up the whole universe. She walked back to his bed and took his hand again. I have decided something, she said. When this is over, when you are healed, I am going to propose a formal alliance between the Velen Empire and Earth. Your people deserve a place among the stars. Not as cargo workers. Not as servants. As equals, Tay stared at her. You would do that? Because of me? Because of you? Because of Day? Because of every human who has ever chosen to stand when they could have run? She squeezed his hand. You showed me what courage looks like. The least I can do is show the galaxy. Tay did not have words. For the first time in a long time, he felt something warm in his chest. Something that felt like hope. Rest now, Queen Nira said. You have a long recovery ahead of you, but you will not face it alone. I promise you that. She released his hand and walked toward the door. But before she left, she turned back one more time. Your brother, she said softly. He would be proud of you. And then she was gone. Tay lay in the quiet room, holding Day's dog tags against his heart. He looked out the window at the endless stars. I hope so, brother, he whispered. I really hope so. And for the first time in 2 years, when he closed his eyes, he did not see fire. He did not see loss. He saw Day, smiling at him, proud and bright and alive. Someone had to stand, and finally Tay had. 6 weeks later, Tay stood in the grand hall of the Galactic Council. The room was enormous. Columns of white stone rose toward a ceiling so high it seemed to touch the stars themselves. Representatives from 100 different species sat in floating seats that circled the central platform. They were all shapes and sizes. Some had fur. Some had scales. Some had no bodies at all, just clouds of light and energy. Tay had never felt so small in his entire life. He wore a new uniform. The Velen had made it for him. Dark blue with silver trim. The symbol of the Velen Empire on his chest, and beside it, the flag of Earth. His brother's dog tags hung around his neck. Hidden beneath the fabric, Queen Nira stood at the center of the platform. She was magnificent. Her robes flowed like water. Her crown caught the light from 1,000 sources. When she spoke, her voice filled the entire hall without effort. Representatives of the Galactic Council, she began. I come before you today to speak of a species you have dismissed. A species you have ignored. A species you have called primitive, short-lived, and unworthy of notice. The hall was silent. Every eye, every sensor, every consciousness was focused on her. I speak of humans. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Tay could feel their attention shifting to him, measuring him, judging him. He stood straight, and did not look away. 6 weeks ago, I was traveling in secret through contested space. My ship was attacked by the Keth. Their assassins boarded us. They killed my guards. They broke through every defense. And they came for me. She paused. The silence was absolute. I was alone, unarmed, seconds from death. And then, a human saved my life. Queen Nira turned and gestured toward Tay. He stepped forward, joining her on the platform. The lights were bright. The eyes of the galaxy were upon him. This man is called Tay. He was a cargo worker on my ship. He had no weapons, no armor, no reason to fight. My people had treated him poorly. We had called him primitive, weak, less than us. Her voice grew stronger, harder. And yet, when the Keth came, he did not run. He fought. He killed a dozen of their warriors. He threw himself between me and their leader's blade. He saved my life at the cost of his own blood. He killed Voss, the most feared Keth warrior in the galaxy, with nothing but a borrowed blade and impossible courage. The murmurs grew louder. Representatives leaned forward in their seats. This was not what they had expected. I have lived for more than 2,000 years, Queen Nira continued. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched entire species disappear from the universe. And I tell you now, in all that time, I have never seen courage like his. She turned to face the council directly. We measure worth in centuries. We believe that longer lives mean greater value. We look at humans and see creatures who burn out in mere decades. We pity them. We dismiss them. We think they have nothing to teach us. Her silver eyes blazed. We are wrong. The hall fell silent again. Queen Nira's voice echoed off the ancient walls. Humans do not live long. This is true. But they do not waste a single moment. They love fiercely. They fight desperately. They throw themselves into life with an intensity we have forgotten. When danger comes, they do not calculate the odds. They do not weigh the costs. They simply act. She looked at Tay. Pride shone in her eyes. This man had every reason to run. He owed me nothing. My people had given him nothing but contempt. But when I was about to die, he chose to save me. Not because he would gain anything. Not because anyone would remember. Simply because someone had to stand. She turned back to the council. His brother did the same thing 2 years ago. A young man, barely more than a child by our standards. He ran into a burning building to save strangers. He got them all out, and then he died. 28 years old, a whole universe of potential, gone. And yet, in his final moments, he was more alive than most of us will ever be. Queen Nira raised her hand. The lights in the hall shifted, focusing on her like a spotlight. I am here today to propose a formal alliance between the Velen Empire and Earth. Full partnership. Equal standing. A seat on this council. The murmurs exploded into shouts. Representatives jumped to their feet. Some were angry. Some were confused. Some were laughing in disbelief. They're primitives. One shouted, "They have barely left their own planet. They have no technology." Another cried, "No ships. No weapons. They live for less than a century. What can they possibly offer us?" Queen Nira waited. She let them shout. She let them rage. And when they finally fell silent, she spoke again. They offer us something we have lost. Something all our technology and all our centuries cannot buy. They offer us courage. They offer us passion. They offer us the fire that makes life worth living. She pointed at Tay. Look at him. One man, alone, against an empire of killers. And he won. Not because he was stronger. Not because he was smarter. But because he was brave enough to try. She lowered her hand. I have seen the future. And in that future, humans are not servants. They are not cargo workers. They are warriors. They are leaders. They are the fire that lights the darkness. She stepped back and gestured for Tay to speak. He stood there, looking out at the most powerful beings in the galaxy. His heart was pounding. His hands were shaking. He had faced death many times, but this was different. This was harder. He touched the dog tags under his uniform. Day's name pressed against his chest. Someone has to stand. He opened his mouth and spoke. I am not a hero, he said. His voice was quiet at first, but it grew stronger as he continued. I am just a man. A man who lost his brother. A man who was angry at the universe. A man who had given up on everything. He looked at Queen Nira. She nodded, encouraging him. But my brother taught me something before he died. He taught me that life is not about how long you live. It is about how you live. It is about the choices you make, the people you save, the fire you leave behind. He turned back to the council. Humans are not special because we are strong. We are not special because we are smart. We are special because we know our time is short. We know that every second counts. We know that one day we will be gone, and the only thing that will remain is the good we did while we were here. His voice echoed through the hall. My brother ran into fire because someone had to. I threw myself in front of a blade because someone had to. And if you give humanity a chance, you will find millions more like us. People who will stand when others run. People who will fight when others hide. People who will burn bright and fast and leave the universe better than they found it. He touched the dog tags one more time. We are not asking for pity. We are not asking for charity. We are asking for a chance to prove what we can be. Give us that chance and we will light up the stars. He fell silent. The hall was quiet. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, slowly, Queen Nira began to clap. Commander Roka joined her. Then another representative. Then another. The sound grew, building like thunder, until the entire hall was filled with applause. Tay stood in the center of it all, tears running down his face. Later, after the vote, after the speeches, after the celebrations, Queen Nira found him standing alone on a balcony overlooking the stars. The vote passed, she said. Earth has been granted a seat on the council. Full partnership. Equal standing. He did not turn around. Your brother would be proud, she said. He touched the dog tags. I know. She stood beside him, looking out at the endless darkness. What will you do now? She asked. Tay thought about it. He thought about Day. He thought about Earth. He thought about all the humans who had never been given a chance, who had never been seen. I will keep fighting, he said. I will keep standing. For as long as I have, Queen Nira smiled. She took his hand in hers. Then you will not stand alone, she said. Never again. They stood together in the starlight, looking out at the universe. And somewhere, Tay knew, Day was smiling. The fire burned on.